in honor of what would have been Governor Ned Ray McWherter's 95th birthday this past Wednesday. This weekend's 30 Minutes is a rebroadcast of an earlier program.
Hi, everybody. This is Paul Tinkle, and welcome into this week's 30 Minutes program. We're going to return to the year 2010, a big celebration on the courthouse lawn in Weakley County in Dresden, unveiling a statue of Governor Ned McWherter. It was the unveiling of the statue that brought thousands of people into Weakley County to see the governor and to see the statue for the very first time. On April the 4th, 2011, Governor Ned McWherter passed away. Let's listen as we hear former Governor Ned McWherter and others take the podium and recognize the contributions that Ned McWherter gave to the state of Tennessee and to his community here in Weakley County.
Today, my job is to sum up the accomplishments that have earned Governor McWherter a place of honor in our state's public arena. There certainly is a lot that I could talk about. Ned McWherter is a self-made, successful businessman. He's a civic leader. He served as Speaker of the House, and of course he served for 8 years as governor of our state. Before I talk about the public life of Ned McWherter, though, I want to first say that Governor McWherter has touched my wife, Andrea, and me in many personal ways. He has been to me and to us a mentor and a friend. He's supported us consistently these past 8 years through the good times and through the tougher times. So, Governor, first and foremost, I want to thank you personally for all your friendship and for all your encouragement. It's very, very much appreciated. We have worked together on many formal things. I also want to say I've had a chance to get to know Governor McWherter in an informal setting. We've now gone hunting on several hunting trips together down at Pete Sain's place, and you don't get to know a man any better than sitting around a hunting camp or sitting around a campfire and talking with him. And, Governor, I've enjoyed those times very, very much in my life, and they're something that I will certainly treasure. Ned McWherter was born in 1930 in his parents' cabin near Palmersville. It was covered by a tin roof and heated by a wood-burning stove. His childhood was one of those of the Great Depression, a time we associate with the dust and grime of scarcity and struggle, but also we associate with great determination and with great perseverance. Ned attended elementary school in a one-room schoolhouse, the Little Zion School, where Miss Valda Stewart taught all 8 grades. He did his homework by the light of a kerosene lamp. During the winter, when the road to school was impossible to travel by buggy, Ned's dad would put him on the family horse and take him to school. Along the way, they'd pick up 4 or 5 of his classmates, and the whole party would make the journey to the school with the kids on horseback and the horse kicking up dirt as it went. The only way that Ned Ray, who was a sharecropper's son, could afford to go to college was by playing football. And he tried. He was injured during his junior year at Dresden High School. He still tried out for the college football team in any way, and he was re-injured. He tried again, and he was re-injured a second time. He tried again, and all in all, he tried out 4 times for a football scholarship. When he was hurt for the 4th time, he went to work instead. He started in at the baby shoe factory, working at the pullover machine. Ned worked his way up, working in the office. He became a salesman and eventually traveled the world selling his product. By the time that Ned McWherter arrived at the state legislature and later at the governor's office, his own shoes were well worn with the life experiences of making a living and feeding a family. In other words, Ned McWherter is someone who understands tough, honest living. I say this because if you ask folks to describe Governor McWherter's persona, time and time again, they'll tell you what has endeared the citizens of Tennessee to Ned McWherter was the feeling that he understood them, that he understood their lives, he understood their needs, he understood the challenges that they faced. Governor McWherter translated that understanding into meaningful public policies for using state resources in responsible, well-managed ways to help the hardworking families of Tennessee. For example, Governor McWherter, the same man who couldn't afford to pay for college, is credited with pioneering Tennessee's earliest public education reforms. At the time he was governor, school districts across Tennessee received the same funding amount across the state. The money districts received was calculated according to just a bottom dollar across-the-board formula. This approach meant that the poorer districts, which couldn't afford to run a school bus, received the same, no more funding than more affluent areas did that could. Governor McWherter changed the funding formula so that the amount of money a school district received would reflect its relative ability to pay. This was an enormous benefit to some of the smaller and more rural and poorer school districts in our state. At the time, it was a radical notion. Today, Ned McWherter's Basic Education Plan, otherwise known as the BEP, is a staple of our annual state budgets and has been of enormous effect in leveling the playing field in education across our state. Additionally, under Governor McWherter's watch, Tennessee was the first state to adopt what's called a value-added system for evaluating schools and teachers and students. This is a statistical approach that measures school success in terms of learning potential rather than simply adding up test scores to see how much the students actually improved when they were in a grade in school. This measuring system helps administrators to find the successful school districts, the schools that stand out in a struggling district, identify even strong classrooms that stand out in low-performing schools, so they can replicate these models to look at where we're doing things best and figure out how to apply that more broadly. Today, several states across the country have adopted this value-added system, and I can tell you that a couple decades after its introduction, it was a key element in our race to the top win. Ned McWherter was where the country is now 2 decades before we got there, and a huge benefit to Tennessee, and the reason for our win in this race to the top was the presence of this value-added system. Other states were talking about doing it in the future. We've been doing it for 20 years. All in all, the reforms that Governor McWherter introduced to Tennessee's public education system were the most far-reaching since free textbooks were offered back in the 1940s. His 21st Century Schools program funded the hiring of new teachers to lower classroom sizes, equipped classrooms with computers, some of them for the first time ever. Simply put, the opportunities for prosperity and success that Ned McWherter had to fight for in his own life are now, as a result of his vision, more easily accessible to the children of Tennessee today. One of Governor McWherter's favorite sayings while he was chief executive of the state was, you couldn't look 20 minutes in any direction without seeing the dust billow up. This time he was talking about the massive road construction projects undertaken during his watch, designed to connect the state's smaller and more rural communities to the U.S. interstates that would bring industry and bring jobs their way. Governor McWherter understood that unless state government articulated a coordinated strategy for developing all 95 Tennessee counties, the smaller communities would, in his own words, dry up and blow away. So he dedicated his time in office to, among other things, to building up schools, roads, and physical infrastructure in all of Tennessee's 95 counties. And the roads Ned McWherter made a priority of building a couple decades ago are recognized today as some of the very finest in the country. His vision once again has paid off. When Ned McWherter ran for office, 42 of Tennessee's counties had an unemployment rate higher than 10% and had struggled at that rate for 10 years or more. 42 of Tennessee's 95 counties. When he left the capital, that number was down to 2. That is the result of visionary, far-sighted leadership. Ned McWherter did a lot for the state as governor, and what's equally important as what he did is how he got those things done. There's a lot of folks today who pay lip service to the idea of bipartisanship. But as governor, I can tell you it's a rare and valuable thing to see your counterparts actually roll up their sleeves and reach across the political aisle to get things done. Ned McWherter genuinely believed that partisan politics had no place in the assemblies where decisions about how to help folks who were earning a living or how those rural counties were going to pay for their school buses. During his 8 years as governor, every piece of legislation that Ned McWherter introduced to the General Assembly always carried 18 or 20 votes from the Republican Party. It's an example of civility and statesmanship that we could all learn from today. Governor McWherter, like any of us in this job, wasn't able to do everything that he wanted. But he did do one thing 100% of the time. He remained true to his character, and he remained true to his story. The dust of the Great Depression, the horseback rides to school. I think it followed Ned Ray from West Tennessee to the state capital. It got in his veins and became an unwavering commitment to get things done for the people of the state of Tennessee. Toward the end of his second term, Governor McWherter raised more dust, this time to break ground on construction of Tennessee's Bicentennial Mall. And this project in many ways symbolized the prosperity and optimism that his time in office had brought to the people of the state. During the last days of his administration, Governor McWherter summed things up this way in a speech. Actually, it was to the National Kiwanis Club. He said, "The sun has risen and set and risen again on Tennessee. The next governor and the next generation will inherit a future that those of us born before the Second World War could only have dreamed about. After 16 years of public service, the shadows are falling on my time in elected office, but as these shadows lengthen, the sun is rising on a younger generation of Tennesseans who will know a day that never came when I was young. It will be a day when the world looks to find the very best, and it will be a day when their eyes turn to Tennessee." I think Governor McWherter said it best. He said it better than I've ever heard anyone say in that speech to the Kiwanis Club. Ned knew that his time in office was a temporary thing, but a rare opportunity to take the helm for a while and to leave the state a better place than when he first started. And speaking as someone who sits behind that same desk in the governor's office today, let me say that when my 8 years at the Capitol come to an end, I hope that I'll be able to take the same satisfaction in being able to look to the people of Tennessee, to look in their eyes and to say the same thing. This was a big assignment, trying to sum up Governor McWherter's contributions as Tennessee's 46th governor. And Governor, I hope I have done you justice today. Thank you, Governor, very much for your leadership, for your commitment to Tennessee, for your help to Andrea and I personally, and to the great legacy of leadership that is represented by today's occasion. Happy 80th birthday, Governor.
Our next speaker certainly is no stranger. He's represented this area with distinction for many years in Nashville, our dear friend Roy Harrod.
Unbiased I am not, but accurate I am when I say Ned McWherter is our greatest former governor. Governor McWherter said thousands of times, schools plus roads equals jobs, and he meant it. This self-described college dropout, whose talented daughter and son earned 5 university degrees, promised that his administration was for the kids, and it was. He took our schools back from the courts and gave them to the kids in a way children, especially rural children, never had them. He created a funding mechanism that finally was fair to rural schools, while he also helped urban schools. And in the last 3 years of his administration, Tennessee increased state funding for K through 12 more than any other state in the country, a 49% increase. His 21st Century Schools program put those dollars in classrooms to buy textbooks and, as the governor said, computers, and also to add teachers. And he invested over 3 times as much in classroom improvements in 3 years as was spent in the previous 16 years. And with historic funding came historic accountability. And for the first time, all school boards were elected by the people and accountable directly to the citizens. And taxpayers could see school strengths and weaknesses in published report cards. And in another first, Tennessee did lead the nation with a new system in measuring how much students learn. And just this year, that was the McWherter system, as Governor Dresden said, that helped Tennessee win the national race to talk competition. An amazing service to Tennessee's children, even 16 years after he left office. There was another crucial part to Governor McWherter's economic development plan: schools plus roads equals jobs. And Governor, I'll never forget the time we were in your office and a group from Greenfield was up and you were deciding where the last 4-lane to go through Weakley County was going to go through Greenfield or around it. Some of you remember that. And finally, when the decision was made, you said, you know, every governor gets accused of building roads in his own home area. And if I'm going to be accused of it, I'm sure going to be guilty of it. Everybody here today who came from out of the county on a 4-lane highway, and that's everybody that came here today, thanks you. The man from Palmersville and Dresden knew if we connected rural counties to city neighbors, all of us, country and city alike, would benefit. And schools plus roads did equal jobs. As Governor Bredesen pointed out, 42 counties, when Ned McWherter became governor, 42 counties had double-digit unemployment. Governor McWherter talked about a 95-county jobs program, but he did more than talk. During his administration, for the first time, Dow Jones rated Tennessee's economy strongest in the South. The Corporation for Enterprise Development ranked our economy not only the best in the South, but the 5th strongest in the country. And Governor Bredesen, we always thought that when he left office, there was just one county with double-digit unemployment, and he swore that if he'd known that county was going to be in that position, he would have hired enough people personally so that there wouldn't have been any county with double-digit unemployment. What did all that cost us? What was the bottom line on taxes after Governor McWherter? Tennesseans paid less in state and local taxes per $100 of personal income than citizens in any other state. That's right. When you looked at our income and our taxes, when Ned McWherter left office, our combined state and local tax burden was 50th of 50 states. Now, skeptics may say he must have done this like they do in Washington, despite John Tanner's efforts and good works, by piling up debt. But no, Ned McWherter balanced all 8 budgets. The state's bonded indebtedness measured in real dollars was lower when he took office, lower when he left than when he took office. And he left a record rainy day fund triple what he inherited. The last 2 years, Ned McWherter was governor. City and State magazine recognized Tennessee as the best managed state in the nation, number 1 among 50. And Governing magazine judged Ned McWherter the nation's best governor. The nation's best governor made Tennessee the best managed state in the country. And when historians ranked the records of Tennessee's greatest governors, who better than Ned McWherter to put at the very top? Because in so many ways, the top is where Governor McWherter put Tennessee. The scripture of Brother Gardner reminds us, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with all thy heart. Governor McWherter, that's what you have always done. And all of us, thank you for giving your all, with all of your heart, to Tennessee.
I think Ned's going to say a few words, and I will be mercifully brief. There are 2 people in my life that have shaped my life, my dad and this guy, Ned.
Ned McWherter making his way to the podium, being helped there by Congressman John Tanner. Here is Governor McWherter.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You've been standing a long time. Now let's all be seated. The exciting part's just about over. I told John we got to move this program fast because I've been to many of these and stood too long. Let me start by saying, Governor Bredesen, I'll swear I don't know where you got all those good things to say about me, but I'm glad you said them. Thank you. And to Congressman Tanner and my son Mike and Bass is here and Linda and Matt and Brett and Walker couldn't be here, Roy and Brother Gardner. It's just, and all of you, my neighbors and friends, as I look out here, people have come a long way to be here this morning, many of you. And I hope you did drive on a 4-lane till you turned off. And I hope back home, if you're East Tennessee, I saw someone from Chattanooga, and you don't have Malfunction Junction over there anymore. You can just go through there, lickety-split, and go to Atlanta. And it's that way all over East Tennessee. I know every one of them. Northeast, middle, and west. Let me say to the commissioners and my cabinet officials and friends that helped me during my administration, this is a cabinet meeting, and I'm proud all of you are here. And let me say to this commission that was put together to do this bronze, and they raised all the money, and they did well, and I'm grateful for all of you that have. The commission is down in front of me here, along with Senator Matthews. You've done well, and I appreciate all of you and what you've done. The distinguished all the guests here, I think I named all of them on the platform. But, you know, the FFA students have helped do all the legwork here. And all the working county officials of Weakley County and all the city officials here in Dresden, you really got this town clean and spiffed up, I call it. For this occasion, I'm grateful to all of you for that. But more than anything else, I'm grateful to those of you that have come a few miles to get to Weakley County, and those of you that are my neighbors and friends here at home. It's a fitting day, a fitting place, and I've been blessed by the good Lord. I can't read my speech, so I won't try, but I took a few notes out of it from one of my speech writers of long ago, Billy Starr, and to all the folks that have helped me along the way, those of you that voted for me and elected me all those years to the legislature, and then when you supported me for governor, I'll always be grateful, and I'll always remember who I am and be proud of my home county. As Governor Bredesen told you, I was born in the little community of Palmersville, and lived my entire life in this county, and moved to Dresden, and I finished high school here and went to work at Baby Shoe Company after I couldn't. People asked me, where'd you go to school? And I said, well, I went to Murray and Martin, UT Martin, and Memphis State. I really went to different colleges, but I never did stay longer than a month. So I'd always get hurt and come home and go to work. My mother worked at the shirt factory, and my daddy worked for the county highway department, and I thought I needed to be here to help on that. I came back and I made my way here, never dreaming or never had a thought about running for a public office when I was selling shoes and traveling around the country and then around the world. But I did, and thanks to all of you, I was elected. And they talk about your accomplishments, and Governor Bredesen, I do appreciate you outlining a lot of things that I was interested in, but the one thing I did was I got up every morning by daylight like you do around here, and I worked till dark like you do around here, and then I usually went home or went to a reception or some cocktail party, Brother Gardner, somewhere around the hill in Nashville when the legislature was in session. So I've enjoyed my life. Congressman Tanner, when you came to the legislature, we passed the highway bill. We used to drive on Old Highway 70, a 2-lane road from here to Nashville. I see some friends here from Huntington. I'm not going to get started on where everybody's from in Carroll County or Henry County or what have you, but we drive that 2-lane road, and now we've got a 4-lane highway. The only 4-lane we had seen in West Tennessee was the interstate. It was about from Memphis to Nashville or to the river. That's all the 4-lane roads we had. So we now got 4-lane highways here and finished them in lots of other parts of the state, as I said. And Governor Bredesen, I voted for the first Medicaid bill in Nashville because people didn't have insurance coverage. Poor women and children had no insurance, and you fought your heart out to keep that available to them, and I'm grateful for that. And then Speaker Nafee's here. Speaker Nafee and John, Roy, and all of them, Democrats and Republicans, let me emphasize, and Republicans, helped me pass the 21st Century Schools program, as Governor Bredesen told you about. And we had that. It was well written by some of my cabinet officials, and we had an excellent program, and it did a lot of great things, and it's continued on today with the value added. And I went over to Crockett County one day right after I got elected governor. I was visiting schools, and they were teaching science out of a textbook that predated our sending a man to the moon. And that was back in the Kennedy administration when they worked that out. So I was determined that I knew from my own experience rural counties and poor communities needed more pay for teachers, needed more dollars for their classrooms and for their children. So we passed the Better Schools program, and all of that's the 21st century, the BEP, all incorporated in it, and it's still in effect. When I look out over this crowd, I am reminded that I've lived in this community all my life. I graduated from high school here in 1948, and our old courthouse burned right here in this square. And I stayed down here for about, they let us out of school to help the fire department pull the, the hose it around. And it burned for about 2 or 3 days. And it's built back. Look at these trees. No, I remember when they put them out. They grow strong, and this community has got good dirt and good people. And these trees grow strong, and this county grows strong. And the people of Tennessee grow stronger every year and better. And we're all better for that. And as I reflect on my 80 years, and I'm 80 years old today, as I reflect, there are actually more tomorrows than yesterday. Now, think about that. I think a lot about yesterdays and remember the times and the wonderful years of service and the people that helped me here and in Nashville and across the state. But there's still more yesterdays than tomorrows at my age. So I'm looking forward to the generation of children that's growing up today. Excuse me, my eyes leak a little. If that's all that leaks, I'm doing all right at 80. As the children grow up today, I want to be sure that the things that we accomplished, the differences that we made together, all of us, are lasting. The roads, the education, the health care, jobs and opportunities. Continue to build on those in this next generation and the generation that follows. But I want the children to know that you can serve in public service and be honest. And the biggest contribution that a political person can make is to protect the public trust that people have in their government. I've always believed that sincerely. And I can look out over this crowd and I can see my cabinet members that helped me make all that possible. And they're here. And my staff that worked in the Capitol building with me. We were honest. When we left, there was no scandal. We all went about our way of trying to make a living for our families. And that makes me very proud that I had the opportunity to serve with a caliber of men and women in a cabinet that kept us honest and kept the public trust. So, ladies and gentlemen, this will be among my last speeches. I was with John Tanner somewhere out here, and we were dedicating a new building, a trucking company. And I said, I read about Clinton and all these big shots that charge $50,000 for making speeches. I'm going to start charging $25,000 for mine. I haven't been invited to make one since. Everybody's scared. So I'll close in saying I love you again for being here, being present, and being so supportive and good to me, all of you. The people that have helped me at home. Got 2 or 3 folks that cook and feed and care for me, and I recognize all of you, and I thank you very much. And I guess I could close, Brother Gardner, in saying, God bless each and every one of you. And I hope all of you live to outlive me, but I hope I live until I'm 90 or 100. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to our program 30 Minutes here on WCMT and Star 95.1. Governor Ned Ray McWherter would have been 91 years old this past October the 15th. The statue dedication that you just heard from fall of 2010.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.